On this week's weekly video fishing forecast, the big bass have moved into Montauk, great catches of sea bass and porgies, and the bluefin tuna bite is still red hot. All here at thefisherman.com. The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners. The Coastal Kayak Clash is going on now. Fish from your kayak, take a photo of your catch, and rack up points to win this Old Town Sportsman Autopilot kayak valued at over $4,000. You just need to be a subscriber to The Fisherman to compete like Justin Oser, who's on top of the leaderboard. Get all the details at thefisherman.com. News 12 meteorologist Rich Von Olin was out over the weekend and had success chasing bluefin to the west. Let's see if the weather will hold up for the weekend to hunt those tuna fish down. Rich?
All right, thanks, Tim. Hey, anglers, meteorologist Rich Von Olin here, News 12 Long Island Weather Center. Let's check things out for the weekend, see what we got going on, and looks like it's going to be a so-so weekend. Water temps came up, 60s and 70s. Was out in the bay last week. Some lower 70s, about 72 in Reynolds Channel, and starting to see those water temps come up. Wave heights, I think Saturday morning is going to be the best time to do anything. You'll have a light little chop there, light roll, and then it gets lumpy. Southwest breeze really starts to come in late Saturday afternoon. We go from 2 to 4 to 4 to 7, especially offshore. And then we got that shark and tuna bite going on, so watch out, offshore anglers. Lumpy going into Sunday morning. It's going to be a little tough go there. Also some clouds and a chance of a little bit of rain. It's going to take some time to settle down. Later Sunday afternoon, a little better in the ocean. The sound should be okay, but looking at some wind starting to pick up from the southwest. Again, starting out Saturday, that's the best window, and then it gets windier. Southwest 15 to 20 late in the day. Pretty good onshore breeze there with the front coming in Sunday. It settles, maybe with the westerly breeze late in the day Sunday, but even a gust coming in there. So we're not looking great. I think Saturday pick of the weekend. Sunday a little bit lumpier, but overall, just be safe out there. Looks like Saturday pick of the weekend. That's a forecast. Tim, back to you.
Let's check in with Fisherman senior editor Fred Galafaro with the details of the bass bite in Montauk.
Hey Tim, and big bass have finally settled into Montauk. Started at the end of last week. A lot of big fish on the rips right off the point. On Tuesday, as recently as Tuesday, Savio Mizzi and his crew, two guys, they bucktailed a bunch of big fish up into the 40-pound class, and Savio said they were just stacked up on the bottom. So that's underway. By the way, he had those fish on the last half of the outgoing early in the morning. Also, a lot of big fish on the bunker school still. Sunday morning outside of the breach in Mauritius, a lot of big fish taken there on live bunker. But again, I'm getting a lot of complaints. There's many good reports of good fishing I'm also getting a lot of guys complaining about what's going on other boats, guys keeping every fish they catch in some cases, keeping fish out of the water way too long, and it seems most guys are still doing the snag and drop, which is legal. Nothing illegal about it until next year the circle hook rule goes into effect. But, for crying out loud, guys, come on. Have another rod rigged or be ready to switch over with a circle hook. Let's do what we can to preserve these fish. And if you take them out of the water, get them back in the water quick, like within 15 seconds, 20 seconds. You want to take a picture, wait until the camera phone is ready to go. Pick the fish up, hold it one hand in the mouth, one hand back now the anal fin. Snap your picture and get them right back in. All right. This coming weekend is a free fishing weekend in New York State. Basically, it applies to freshwater, so if you want to do some freshwater fishing on any of the lakes and ponds, you do not need a license this Saturday or Sunday. Good time to take the kids, introduce the kids to fishing. And for you surfcasters out there, we've put this up on social media already and in Monday's email blast, but if you haven't heard, the West End to Work Dock area is now open for fishing as long as you have the sport fishing permit or the beach vehicle permit. And there's also parking now for fishermen in the West End 2 parking lot. That took effect on Saturday. Tim, back to you.
With more from Montauk, let's hear from Captain Timothy O'Rourke.
Thanks, Tim. Well, another report this week from Montauk. Summer seems to be finally kicking in. All the party boats are reporting some really good catches. Viking fleet's having consistent action with porgies and fluke and bluefish. The Miss Montauk is still chipping away with some really good fluke fishing. Fish up to 9 pounds on the good days, but everything averaging out around 7. Captain Ketty Hadacek on the My Joyce reported in this week. He's been catching a lot of really big bass, which are all being safely released. Fluking's hit or miss, but they're seeing a lot of fish up to 9 pounds. I have to give it to Kenny. Kenny was well ahead of the curve on this even before the slot limit, and he was actively letting these big fish go for the last couple of seasons. So he's fine-tuned the technique. He's doing a really good job with it, and hats off to Kenny for being part of that. As far as the fly fishing and light tackle goes, this week we saw some incredible topwater action out here. Fish up to 38 inches on swimming plugs and flies. So everything's looking good. So if you want to come out and enjoy Montauk, we'll hopefully see you this weekend. Thank you.
Captain Sebastian Head of the North Fork passed along that the sea bass bite on opening day was red hot. The porgies are massive. Blues are everywhere. Weakfish are in their usual holes, and the big bass are in plum gut. Now, let's check in with Mike Dean from Shinnecock.
Thanks, Tim. Hey, everybody. Well, fishing livened up. It had been kind of a tough go for the past week or so, but we're starting to see those small stripers back in the off the surf and in the back bays. Lots of cocktail blues around. The Hampton ladies doing a nice 5 to 7 trip on weekdays. Just drifting the inlet, diamond jigging for blues. Had a lot of action with my son the other day. Probably got about 15 or 20 in like 2 hours. Yesterday was down at the beach that had not produced at all for over a week. A couple of small bass, whole ton of cocktail blues on pencil poppers, small bottle poppers. So things are coming alive. There's still a lot of bass that are out on the bunker pods, at least between Shinnecock and Moriches, and that seems to be accounting for any of the big catches. Fluke bite continues to be pretty strong around the wrecks, around the reef, and of course sea bass just started up. So everyone's having a pretty good catch. Hopefully there's a lot more fish that will be holding around the wrecks and the reefs, and everyone will get a shot at them, through this weekend and, throughout the rest of the season. Coimbra is still kind of hot. This fog has been a little bit of a hassle with getting back and forth, but still those 25 to 40 pound size bluefins being taken both on spreader bars and on jigging and poppers. A little bit further out in the canyon, there is a bit of a big eye bite. I know there's been a couple of really nice catches. So, this June, the new moon has been really productive, and going into this July full moon, it's just going to be lights out fishing. So get out there, catch them up, have fun.
Steigercraft builds boats by the same people that fish our waters. That's why serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you. The schoolie bite still remains hot in Shinnecock Bay. Bruce Morbido and his grandson Mikey had 14 bass a few mornings ago. Now, from the Fire Island area, let's hear from Captain Al Lorenzetti.
Hey Tim, Fire Island report. Things are looking pretty good. Lots of tuna fish on the offshore scene. Striped bass on the pods. Good weakfish action still holding up, and a lot of bottom fish. Kingfish, blowfish, you put down a chum pot. It's excellent. And the fluke fishing is also very good. Tuesday opened the sea bass season, and I fished on Tuesday and had a great time catching beautiful sea bass. And so that would be on the ticket from here on in. Lots of opportunities, like I said. Pretty much you go out there, you can, like I said, my problem every time is what kind of rods do I bring? I bring almost everything. So anyway, fishing's good around Fire Island, Tim. Talk to you next week.
Now let's check in with Brendan Rutigliano of Capture Bait and Tackle.
Thanks, Tim. Just a short report this week. Wanted to mention that there's fluke in the Fire Island Inlet, a lot of shorts, but we're definitely picking through them to get some keepers. The brown tide has definitely got a lot better, especially during incoming tide. Sea bass open this week. White gulp is the way to go for sea bass. There's still some weak fish around, but it's nothing crazy. So if you're gonna go fishing, I would definitely suggest fluke or sea bass this week, and tight lengths, guys.
The bluefin tuna fishing is still holding up. Patty Ann Charters out of Captree had a solid week of good fishing with 60 tuna with mostly 20-pound footballs, but there were a lot of 50 and 100-pounders mixed in, as Jenna and Marissa found out from Comac. Most of the action is a little over 2.5 hours southeast of the Fire Island Inlet. Trolling side trackers when you find the whales and porpoise and birds is the key, says Captain Greg. Reed Rankin was fishing out of Jones Inlet when his 5-pound fluke became a 1-pound fluke as a small mako took advantage of the situation and had a quick snack. More from Jones Beach. Here's Matt Bauer.
This week's fishing report's been full of good news. There's been plenty of stripers in the area being caught in the bay, in the inlet, and in the surf. There's been some schoolie stripers seen chasing sand fleas super tight to shore in the surf. This striper right here was caught on a 5-inch white bass assassin on a 3/4 ounce jig head. There's also been some decent bluefish around, with mostly cocktail blues right now, and the bigger ones have moved out of our area. The fluke action has picked up a little bit. There's been more and more keepers being caught, and in the surf right now it's loaded with northern kingfish. The west end has finally opened, so that gives us a lot more area to fish, and the shop has completed its renovations, so we're going to complete stocking the shop this week, and we can't wait to see you guys there shortly. Thanks, Tim. Back to you.
Boating has become more popular during these trying times, and Kale's Family Boating Center is ready to get you out on the water. Check out a Sea-Pro powered by Suzuki. Low rates make it the perfect time to buy. Visit kalesfamilyboating.com for more information. Joe Bensavenga started the week from his boat fishing the Meadowbrook Bridge, catching schoolies and bluefish all on Bass Assassin paddle tails. Then later in the week, Joe fished the now open West End 2 beach and had bluefish on Bass Assassin paddle tails as well. And he also was using 1-ounce bucktails with jig strips. And then something big came by that same day. He hooked up, but never got a chance to see it. Then yesterday morning, he was back working the West End jetty for bluefish and school bass, this time with diamond jigs with pink and green tubes. Gage Simon has this report from Jones Beach.
Thanks, Tim. It is great to be back. Last week, Captain Joe and his brother Eric put on a bluefin clinic, going 27 for 27 on bluefins up to 90 pounds. This past Saturday, Joe ran into more bluefin again locally. On his first cast, he hooked up, but since there were so many fish, he got cut off by another tuna swimming into his line. Once the crew reached the fishing grounds, on the first drop of the clam, they hooked up with a thresher that put on a show, breaching the water 3 to 4 times before breaking off. While this was happening on their 35-foot Viking Express, brother Eric was aboard their 20-foot Proline center console, where he saw tuna and got bit on the troll while setting his lines, but never did come tight. While shark fishing the grounds, they had whales, dolphins, sea turtles, blue sharks, and a 15-foot great white all around the 20-foot boat. Nice to hear you guys had a National Geographic experience right out of the gauntlet. A big summertime shout out to Captain Adam of the Tuna Cartel, who just got back from a canyon trip to the Wilmington, where he landed 4 yellowfins and 3 longfins, and says he's heading back out today for another run at the tuna. And a special thanks to angler John Canosa for sending me pics while I was away of his red drum landed in Delaware Bay on his wave runner just off Broadkill Beach, using sand fleas for bait. And this week, John was back locally catching blue-eyed demons and some nice flatties. Way to go, Captain Joe, brother Eric, and Captain Adam of the Tuna Cartel, and John Canosa. Get out there and catch 'em up, guys. Wishing everybody bent rods, tight lines, and I'll see you out on the water.
Captain Joey Leggio let me know that there are still school bass around to the west, like this nice fish Stephanie from Long Beach caught this week. With our fly report, here's Paul McCain from River Bay Outfitters.
Hello, Tim. Well, a lot of good things have happened, and this week the west end of Jones Beach is now open, but you must have that permit, and you still have to pay for parking unless you're old like me, and we get it for free during the week. But otherwise, the reports are some small blues around. Other than that, we are actually jumping it right into summer. Today it's going to be in the 90s, and it's hot and humid and a little breezy, but it's been really good. I went out last night. I had big sea robins, but hey, tight lines on a fly rod, I think that it's a great day. Any day out on the water is good. Friends of mine have actually been fishing the rivers up north. You got the Farmington, which is tailwater, great trout fishing. They're doing really well. The guys that I know went to the Delaware are doing well. The Housatonic is low, but it's becoming a smallmouth bass fishery. So if you want to go fly fish for those game fish, boy, I tell you, they're just a lot of fun. Do it now. It's great. The waters are low. We haven't had any real storms. Hopefully things will cool down a little bit. I plan on getting out tonight. So until next week, tight lines, everybody.
From Staten Island, Mike Sentry is back.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Fred. Well, folks, another week has gone by, and it was a good week. Went out Sunday, Father's Day. Went out with my friend Christopher Americano in chase of bluefin tuna. Managed to have a really good day jigging. And the troll was a little bit slow, but the jigging was excellent. Played catch and release with a few bluefin, kept 2 for the table, of course. The guys at Hardfin Tackle been going out on bluefin and yellowfin runs. They've been doing pretty good also. Joe Goliath been going out for thresher sharks, successful, of course. Albert Tuna, another gentleman, been going out for threshers 20 or 30 miles out the coast. Nice sized thresher sharks being caught this year. On the Raritan Bay, local reports. Nice size fluke being caught by Matty Fish. This guy's been eliminating out every single time he goes out. This guy's a beast. He's a monster fishing. So with that said, striped bass, they're on the move. Not targeting, no striped bass, bottom fishing. Waiting for the porgies to get here, fluke, and the offshore bite. So with that said, tight line, guys. Hope all is well. Stay safe.
From the Long Island Sound, a big aloha for Hawaiian Dan.
Thanks, Tim. Aloha. I'm Hawaiian Dan of TalkFishTV.com YouTube channel, reporting for the Fisherman magazine here off the central north shore of Long Island, the inshore nearshore region where I'm fishing from my #1 choice hull, the Sea Eagle Inflatable Fish Gift 16 from SeaEagle.com. The hatch this week is bunker, bunker, bunker. The match is bunker, bunker, bunker. And you can find that bunker, bunker, bunker at Miller Place Bait and Tackle. Just jump down there and say hi to Jim, Sue, and Misty, and they'll hook you up with what you need. Remember to use those circle hooks. The tactics tonight and just about all this week is going to be plenty of fun chunking that bunker. Bunker chunks, fishing that night bite, also targeting structure, lights during the daytime, looking for any kind of surface action, targeting the bottlenecks, the points, and the flat sections. You're going to definitely produce fish this week. There's plenty of bait out there, meaning adult bunker. The fish are stripers. They're still on the schoolie size. I'd say running from about 24 to just shy of keeper, 27 inches, but there's some fat butterballs and they're aggressive and they make great fights. To see a full detailed episode of my report filled with more tips, techniques, and strategies, please jump over there to YouTube and visit TalkFishTV.com. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification button, and that way you won't miss any episodes. Now get off those couches, grab those rods, and get out there and fish. Remember to spread love, not war. Make somebody smile today. Spread as much aloha as you possibly can. And until next week, this is Hawaiian Dan of TalkFishTV.com signing out. Now back to you, Tim. Aloha.
With the offshore report, we have Captain Tony Gatto.
Thanks, Tim. Offshore, there are 2 warm water eddies that have been holding plenty of tuna. The first is off of Tom's Canyon. It's been holding bluefin tuna, yellowfin tuna, and big eye. The second is just south of the dip. This has been mostly bluefin tuna, both overs and unders, with some big eyes mixed in. Bluefin tuna on the 30 fathom line from the Resort Wreck to the west all the way out to Montauk's dip have been plentiful. There are a ton of unders mixed in with the whales and porpoises. If you do your work and you cull through your unders, there are overs. For the most part, black and purple side trackers have been doing a great job with the unders, while Joe Schute's blue and white with ballyhoo way back have been accounting for a lot of the overs. On the sharking front, Captain Ray Fasano reported the first mako of the season a few weeks back. Joe and Anthony on the Alexa Corinne at Ascena Yacht Club in Mauritius weighed in a nice 350-pound thresher on Saturday. Ray Fasano is not only an avid shark hunter, but they caught a nice bluefin tuna on the troll south of Fire Island. It weighed 133 pounds at the Bergen Point Marina. Rick Rattler aboard John Delatorre CU2 boated a nice oval bluefin tuna. They caught 30 on the day, releasing 27. Out in Montauk, Bob Weaver on the WeGo took his granddaughter Arlie out shark fishing. They had an amazing trip releasing an 8-foot great white and 5 blue sharks. The highlight of the trip was Arlie catching her first ever keeper at mako. She is a chip off the old block, and I am sure Karen is looking down on her and smiling. That's it for this week. Back to you, Tim.
Remember, Like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and tap on the bell to be notified instantly when we post a new video on YouTube. And of course, be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine to be part of the Kayak Clash contest. Check out this video's description on YouTube for all the related links and more information, and please support our correspondents by visiting their website and social media pages. Just a reminder that subscribers of the Fisherman magazine have access to the weekly digital edition at thefisherman.com, which is available on Mondays. Have a great weekend and be safe out there. We'll see you next week.